till the work on earth is done. Watch as the clouds he rides swing low. Lift up the sound as he makes our praises through. Behold, the Lord our God will lead us home. You give life, you love, you bring light to the darkness. You give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. So great. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Great are you, Lord. Great are you,
All right, good morning, everybody. If you're done lying to your neighbor, talking about how good looking Matthew is, you can turn your attention to the real beauty. I'm just kidding. Now, I always make cheesy jokes that I'm better looking than Matthew, so my wife said I couldn't do it. It's funny to me. I don't care if y'all laugh, but I ain't going to do it this time. But no, my name is John Holman. I did see some new faces. I'm not the lead pastor here. I'm the lead pastor's homeboy, right, DJ Stephen Dale? That's what we call it. But today, we're going to dive in here shortly. We're going to be talking about honor. And the reason we want to talk about honor is that it's one of the core values of our church. And it says, if you go, matter of fact, it's official. When it's on the website, it's official. You can go check it out. It says, we will choose to honor. I think that's so cool. We will choose to honor. Not will be made to honor, but we will choose to honor. It says this. I'm going to read it real quick. It says, as a church and as individuals within the church, we will commit to always honor the people and churches around us. We will realize that we are called to different lives, having different strengths and weaknesses, but all created by the same God. As a rule, we will assume the best in each person and work to maintain harmony within our church and community. When a person exhibits a weakness, it is not our place to gossip or degrade, but rather to help, support, and encourage them in their closer walk with Jesus. That's some deep stuff, man. Good job, preacher. Man, Matthew, he does got a little something going on up top. That's good. It was important for him to put it in there because it's important as a church. It's important as believers. With that being said, me and Matthew were talking, it was 2 weeks ago, and we were just talking. He's like, hey, man, you hadn't spoken in a while. You want to? And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of ready to holler at some people. And he's like, all right, yeah, good, let's do it. So I was like, all right, we'll do it. And anyhow, he set me up, man. Like, I'm confessing his sins, not my sins right now. So he set me up. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, I don't know, 4 or 5 days later, he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, when you talk, I want you to talk on honor. I'm like, bro, what are you telling me to talk on for, man? Like, I got something going here, you know? And but I kind of read honor. Then I was like, well, how can I not do it now? Now I have to honor my pastor, so I have to do it. But I realized I wish that at some point I could pick a topic on to speak that I could speak out of confidence and say, man, I have achieved this, guy, so listen to me. But I can't. I realized that I have fallen short on honor so many times. And this is a side note. I'm gonna try to get some brownie points. Since I just slammed you, let me jump to a note I had later on now. Just so you know, y'all can write this down. Look it up. 1 Timothy 5:17. It talks about pastors, elders, talking about giving them double honor. Yeah. So that's why I have to I'm gonna speak this message twice today, just because he asked me to. Okay, this is part one. But it does talk about pastors deserving double honor, and in some versions, Matthew might like this even better. It says, and make sure they are paid well, right? So either way, double honor, paid well. That's a good thing to be a pastor. But to give an example, like we know what honor is, but like we know about honoring our parents. It's in the Bible. It's one of the 10 Commandments. What does it say about honoring your parents? We got any Bible scholars in here? What's about honor your parents? That your days may be long. Some of you gonna die young. Some of you teenagers on the way to destruction right now. But God forgives you, because if it was about that, I'd be dead too. My parents are here, so I can't even act like I got it together. They'd be back there grunting if I do. We've all fallen short there. I've done it. I had good parents, and I still dishonor them at times, and I still do now. I'm sorry, Mama. I was a little snappy with her this Friday, but she cooked me breakfast on Saturday morning anyhow, so we made up. No, we all fall short, and I don't want to act like I have it all together. So we know about honoring our parents, that our days may be long. That's a big deal. Honoring our spouses, for those that are married. I used to not know what spouse meant, so now I say, those that are married to, used to people say spouses. As a young kid, I was like, what's a spouse? That's their husband or wife, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know. Y'all may all be smarter than me, but I just try to break it down for people like me. So we talk about honoring that. We talk about honoring like God with our money. Some of you don't want to talk about that. We talk about honoring our kids. spending time with kids, they're a gift from God, so we should honor the time we have with them, because full on they'll be grown and gone. Honor our co-workers, to expect them the best. I think it was in that core, respect the best out of people, and whether it's employees. Oh, another way to honor somebody is speaking kindly behind their back. Oh, now we're about to preach. It's easy to honor somebody to your face, but what about when they're not there? That's true honor, and that's hard. That's hard, especially if you like to talk a lot like me. I blame it on my daddy. He talks a lot too. It's his fault. That's a side note. It actually drives me crazy, man. All right, I'm gonna pick on him. Since we talking about honoring our parents, I'm gonna use this opportunity to honor my daddy. We used to go to church, and man, we hated to ride with him. You won't know why? Because we couldn't leave. It didn't matter what time church got over. He was gonna talk to somebody about something. Every time. Now, we the last family, we walking around, we bored, and he's still talking. We're like, man, quit being so nice to people. And it used to drive me nuts. Now I go play. I'm all talking. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just like my daddy. So parents, you're setting the example. All right. Anyhow, we know what it is to honor, and like it's really not hard to honor certain people, right? Like you got a sweet grandma. It's easy to honor grandma. Grandparents are like really, you can't hardly be mean. And if you mean to your grandparents, you know where you're going. Come on. Let's just speak some truth this morning. Some people it's easy to honor, but what I want to talk about is when it's not easy to honor somebody. I want to talk about when honor is not deserved. What do we then, as God's children, how do we handle that? I'm going to set this story. We're going to be reading out of 1 Samuel 24. I'm going to set this story up. See, Saul was the king of Israel. And this is crazy too, y'all. Y'all need to read the Bible if y'all hadn't done it. I know some of y'all have. Some of y'all ain't probably. Listen, the Bible calls Saul a good-looking man. I've told this before. If the Bible calls you good-looking, you got it going on. I don't know what the Bible says about me. It would leave a blank space on looks. But it calls Saul a good-looking man. He's the king of Israel, and he starts off things are going good. Like he's hearing from the Lord, things are going well. Then David comes along, and daggone, if the Bible didn't call David a good-looking guy too. I'm like, what the world, man? All these studs walking around making me feel bad. David steps on the scene, and Saul is going. Then David, he comes up, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. Anybody ever heard anything on David? About this whole Goliath fella and all this stuff. This big, huge giant, everybody's scared of him. Little David, he's expected to be around 15. He's like, I'll do it. He was probably still cracking. No, I'll knock him down. He was ready to go. Sorry, I ain't got no 15-year-olds in here, do we? You're awkward. It's okay. God loves you. But so he kills this, and then he's this mighty warrior, and the townspeople, they're singing songs like King Saul was the king. He's like, King Saul killed 1,000 people, but David killed 10,000. Like he killed 1,000, he killed 10,000. I was actually gonna do a reggae beat on the bongo, but I was like, that might be awkward, and then plus, like y'all might be jealous I'm so talented. So either way, it couldn't go well. So David really becomes jealous, and he starts kind of turning his back on God, and he just gets done with David, so much so that they're talking one night, and King Saul just launches some spears at David. David has to duck them, so he gets out of town. He was like, all right, man, bro's just having a bad day. You throw a spear at me, I ain't coming back. I ain't your friend no more. But he goes back, and I'm going to try to make this short and sweet, because I was telling this to Ashley, John, you talk too much on this subject. But David and Jonathan, Saul's son is Jonathan. They were friends. He's like, hey, man, what's going on? Like, your daddy really trying to kill me? He's like, no, I ain't trying to kill you. But they go through this test and kind of find out, oh, yeah, he's trying to kill you. You need to get gone. So for years, David didn't do anything wrong. Okay? David did nothing wrong, and for years, don't know the exact time frame, for years, my man has to hide. He goes into town and stays. King Saul finally is there. He's come with his troops. They got to get out. He stays, move, and he's traveled far into the wilderness where these caves are hanging out for years. And remember, David's a warrior, okay? I bet he could make his chest muscles jump and stuff. Like, man, this dude, he was hardcore, all right? But yeah, he's running, hiding, and he's done this for years. This is where the story picks up. All right, so we're going to read 24, starting 1. It says, after Saul returned from fighting the Philistines, he was told that David had gone to the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul chose 3,000 elite troops, kind of like the army rangers, from all Israel, and went to search for David and his men near the rocks of the wild goats. And I'm pretty sure that some of this interpretation was Greene County version. Don't it kind of sound like Greene County? Go near the rocks of the wild goats down there by Bobby's house and turn. Down there kind of, you know what I'm saying? I was imagining places down there. At the place where the road passes some sheepfolds. So Saul went into a cave to relieve himself. Now, some versions say cover his feet. The first time I heard this, I was like, cover his feet. I was like, how do you cover your feet? Remember, they didn't wear, jeans. They wore robes and stuff back in the day. And I was like, cover his feet. This happened years ago when I discovered this. And I was like, well, how do you cover your feet? And I started doing some analogy. I was like, cover your feet. Why would you robe on? Y'all got it? Y'all follow me? Don't need to say anything else? Y'all got it. Let me get a little head nod. Yeah, you got it. All right. There's kids in here. When I heard that, I was like pumped, man. I was like, man, the Bible is so cool, man. I told y'all, man. It's talking about all kinds of stuff. And I did some research because I was like, man, I was going to just devour this section of the scripture. It ain't even spiritual. And I was like, man, we're going to have fun with this. And I did do some studying and some research. And relieving himself could have meant taking a nap. I was a little bummed out when I saw that because it kind of made sense. I was like, man. But either way, so he was either number two or possibly he'd been walking through the wilderness. He could have went there to take a nap because in the cave they're cool. We don't know. I prefer number two. All right, so that's where Saul's in there in a cave. We don't know what he's doing because it makes sense. No, I ain't gonna go in there. I put a lot of thought in that, but that's not from the Lord, I'm sure. All right, so Saul goes to relieve himself. But as it happened, David and his men were hiding further back in that very cave. So now if you're in a cave, it's pitch dark, but yet if somebody comes in and you're in the back, it's been so dark, you could see, something. But if you're the one walking into the cave, it's completely dark. And just hypothetically, I will throw this out because I put a lot of thought into it. If you were going to relieve yourself in the sense that we were talking about, when you walk in a cave, if your homeboys, if this is the entrance of the cave right here, and this dark represents dark cave, if I'm walking in to relieve myself, and my friend's by this way, what do? You would turn this way, so your back will be towards the cave because you wouldn't want your homeboys peeking in. You see, so you would be like this. Your back will be turned. So I put some thought into this. So David's been behind that very cave, and this is where his men say, he said, hey, now's your opportunity. David's men whisper him, today the Lord is telling you, I will certainly put your enemy into your power and do with as you wish. So David crept forward and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. The Lord knows I shouldn't have done that to my Lord the king. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this to my Lord and King and attack the Lord's anointed one, for the Lord himself has chosen him. So David restrained his men and did not let them kill Saul. After Saul had left the cave, well, I want to stop right there for 1 second. Let's really think about it. All jokes aside, you're a warrior. You know how to handle business. David has killed giants. He has killed lions with his bare hand. This dude is... Somebody say, I don't know what he looked. In my mind, I always see David as little, I guess, because he always stands beside Goliath. But chances are he's a man. And he's the leader, and he's been leading his troops. He knows how to handle things. And for years, he's been hiding and can't enjoy life. And he talks about it there. He can't, because he's on the run. He's constantly on the run. And here he is, sitting back in the cave, know he's being searched, and daggone, look who comes in. And he's right there. And his guys even whisper, surely the Lord has given him to you, David. Go get him. It seems to me to be easy to go up behind him and just take him out. It was dark, I didn't know who it was. I was just swinging. You can make excuse. For years, he's been hiding. And he has this opportunity. And he tells this guy, oh, God has chosen him as king. God has chosen him as king, so I can't do this. Nobody kill him. Everybody stay back. But he does go off and cut a little piece of his garment, which, in by a sense, whether he was relieving himself or taking a nap, David was a ninja. I'm telling you right now, because that is sneaky. I don't know what kind of sandals he had. Them things were quiet. That's crazy. You think about that. Y'all, sometimes you just read stuff in the Bible, you just my man, I mean, you got the king and David's like, and then when you finally get there, if he was really using the bathroom, that is amazing. Like, there's going to be a long line in heaven. He's going to be telling that same story over and over. But he cuts off a piece of his garment and then sneaks back. That dude is sneaky. Anyhow, I'm pretty impressed. But it goes on to say this. All right, so David's conscience began to bother, so he wouldn't let nobody kill Saul. But after Saul had left the cave and gone his way, David came out and shouted after him, "My lord the king." And when Saul looked around, David bowed low before him. Then he shouted to Saul, "Why do you listen to the people who say I'm trying to harm you? This very day you can see with your own eyes it isn't true. For the Lord placed you at my mercy back there in the cave. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I spared you. For I said, I will never harm the king. He is the Lord's anointed one. Look, my father, at what I have in my hand. It is a piece of the hem of your robe. I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I'm not trying to harm you, and that I have not sinned against you, even though you have been hunting for me to kill me." So he comes out and goes, "Hey, Saul, like I could have killed you today. Why are you listening to everybody? Here is a piece of your robe, man. I could have killed you, and I didn't." So he's kind of explained that to him. And then drop down to verse 16. It says, when David had finished speaking, Saul called back, "Is that really you, my son David?" Then he began to cry. And he said to David, "You are a better man than I am, for you have repaid me good for evil. Yes, you have been amazingly kind to me today. For when the Lord put me in the place where you could have killed me, you didn't do it. Who else would let his enemy get away when he had him in his power? May the Lord reward you well for the kindness you have shown me today. And now I realize that you are surely going to be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. Now swear to me by the Lord that when that happens, you will not kill my family and destroy my line of descendants." So David promised this to Saul with an oath. Then Saul went home, but David and his men went back to their stronghold. This could have gotten way worse, because if David would have done what many of us would have done and killed Saul, Saul wouldn't have come out of the cave. Saul had his 3,000 army rangers with him, remember? They ain't going nowhere yet. They're around there. They didn't realize what happened. David and his men were in the cave. Chances are homeboys would have rushed in. You got nowhere to go. It was guessed that David had around 30 guys with him. 30 versus 3,000 ain't going to happen in a cave. Things could have went really south, but David said, I just can't not honor the king. And at the end of this segment, the man who's been trying to chase me, kill him, says, he's crying and says, "I'm going home." But David then went back to the stronghold. But this is what I want you to know. I want you to take note of this. It says I got a little note here. It says, when you choose to do things God's way, you get results you can never get by doing it your own way. If David had to choose not to honor God, which in return was honoring Saul that day, Saul would have never left. They'd have kept pursuing him on that day, and chances are there could have been a battle that day and he was outnumbered that day. But when you choose to do things God's way, you get results that you can never get by doing it your own way. But with that being said, David does end up become a king. He does honor that. He don't have to kill Saul and his family. He ends up dying in battle. But Saul's life, it didn't become easy after that, because, you know what, after I read it, I thought, woo, happy ending, man. Like, he honored him, and Saul went home. But then there was that verse that said, and David and his men went back to their stronghold. I was like, what? Like, God, after he honored him, he still had to, like, Saul didn't leave him alone? No, I thought originally that the story was over there, that Saul went home and was like, oh, okay, David's a nice guy, I'm going to leave him alone. But Saul had this evil spirit in him. He just couldn't let it go. He couldn't fight it. So he still pursued David. But Saul ended up dying in battle. Most of his sons ended up dying in battle. And David goes on to become king. The Bible says this in Romans 12:10. It says, love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Take delight. That's New Living Translation. I want you to see the English Standard Version real quick. It says, love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in show and honor. I just had to throw this in here real quick because I think this is huge. I like the part where it says outdo one another in show and honor. if you want your marriage to excel, or your future marriage for those who are unmarried to excel, try to outdo each other in showing honor. Remember, I said honor is regard with high respect. So try to outdo each other in showing high respect, showing high value to each other. As believers, sometimes we're called to honor people, to go beyond our means, even when they don't deserve it, even when we don't want to. I can assure you that if you follow God and you follow His word, there's going to be so many times you don't want to do what He's asked you to do. I promise that's how I am. So many times I know God's truth, but yet it's easy to preach it. This is easy, man. I can speak anything over you, and it's so easy. But the hard part is we walk out these doors, and Monday morning comes, and we have to live out. Then we have that jerk of a boss, and yet we still got to honor him. We still have to respect him. And when our spouse, when things ain't lovey-dovey the way we want it to, and things are not going our way, we still have to be the first one who comes up and goes, I mean, I'm sorry. Because I hold you, I regard you in such high esteem. I respect you so much. You don't have to say this. This is what you're thinking. That I forgive you. I'm good. Can we settle this? Can I help you? Dang, I ain't gonna say can I help wash the dish. I don't think I ever said that. I'll wash your car for you. I've done that. Wash your car for you. But it's on honoring. Another Bible verse I wanted to touch on too, as I start wrapping up here, it's 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God, which would tie in with honor, like to honor God. So whatever you do, because I wanted to bring this up because this is the reason why. Sometimes we're talking about honoring God, we're talking about living a life pursuing God. If you're like me, or like I used to be, your mind goes to, well, I don't think I'm supposed to preach. And I can't sing. I can't play instruments, so I guess God can't really use me. You're absolutely wrong. Whatever you do, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. This is how you honor God. You can honor God while serving hot dogs. You can honor God while teaching. You can honor God while cleaning a baby's hiney, mommies. Okay? That's a high honor. At some point, I guess it is. I don't know how that works out. You have to talk to a woman about that. You can honor God in your day-to-day work relationship. This is the Bible verse we have on the side of our truck. And I do get to be a part of we got a little family-run business, and I want to be careful because I want people to know I'm a Christian, but there is such thing as being over-Christianized, in my opinion. But we do have a Bible verse on this truck, so a lot of people know that we are a Christian business. And there's been times that we've had to not necessarily honor customers, but because of the fact that we want to honor God in our day-to-day lives, we have had to lose money on several jobs because a reputation was at stake. And we're not worried about our reputation much as it is. We're supposed to be people who honor God, and even though these people are mean crooks, we have to honor God before we honor them. So yes, we're going to take a loss here, but not because they deserve it, because they're absolutely wrong and we're right. And not because the company name has got to be so great, but because we represent somebody far above the title JAK, because we represent God, and people know that. So to honor God, sometimes you may have to take a step back and do things you don't want to do. You may have to swallow stuff. That may get into your finances. That may get into your pride. But you have to do things to honor God. Let me get the band to come back up. We're going to make this short and sweet and close this out. This is a really good verse. How many of you were here last week? Easter? So we get that message. In 1 Corinthians 6:20, it says, for God bought you with a high price. So you must honor God with your body. Now, in this context, he's actually talking about sexual sin. So he's talking about honoring God with your body. But I was reading, kind of studying over it. When you think about the high price that you were bought with, maybe you missed it last week. There was that one little part, and I like this stuff. Matthew walked over here and said, Jesus loves you this much. And there was a cross here. But to get there, God had to send his only son. And he loved you this much, man. He loved you so much that that God would send his son down the cross, and that Jesus would take that because he loves you so much. And here it is saying, you were bought. Don't forget, you were bought with the high price. So you must honor God with your body. And this is how I see it. You see what I'm doing right now? I'm moving. There's life in this body. You came into this church, there's life in your body. Some of you may be aching, some of you may be a little slower than you used to be. But if this body is moving, I'm saying, I would choose to honor God. Just like the core value of our church that Matthew put in there, you get to choose to honor. I don't have to honor God. I could choose today to not honor God. I could choose today to not honor my wife. I could choose today to never talk to my kids again. But I definitely don't want to do that. But most importantly, I want to choose to honor God with everything I have. As I was thinking about how do you really honor God? Like we could talk about honoring God for literally weeks. And we could never quite put our finger on it. But I thought from a parent, we're either our parents here or we're children. We got earthly parents, some here. What is the number one way to honor your parents? Or as a parent, what is the number one way your kids can honor you? Respect. That kind of goes with honor. Listening. Being obedient. So many times our parents call us to a level that we don't understand. I didn't like getting up early on spring break, Daddy, and working on the farm, Daddy. Didn't appreciate that, sir. But I had to be obedient. Sometimes you can choose to be obedient. Sometimes you ain't got a choice. At that stage of life, it was not a choice. I didn't appreciate that at all at the time. I didn't appreciate the fact that they made me say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. I didn't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate the fact I had a curfew. You serious? All my friends get to go home when they want to, and I got to like, well, you know, I'm getting hungry. I'm going to swing by and get a milkshake, and I guess head on home, you know. I had a, you know, I didn't appreciate that. My kids probably don't appreciate some of the things we do to them now. But the biggest honor that we can give our parents is to be obedient to what they say. That's as a child, that's the biggest, it's by listening and being obedient. I thought, it's no different with God. The biggest way is to be obedient. How do you be obedient, John? Quit looking at this book, first of all, as a list of rules. And look at it as a way, as tips to improve your relationship with Daddy God, as we like to say here. This is a book full of tips, man. That it says that if you're reading this, you get closer to God. And this can be worth it. At time it's not going to make sense to honor someone who don't deserve it. It don't make any sense, but I promise you, anytime you're obedient to God, you're going to get results you can never get on your own. So I don't know who you're dealing with or struggling with honoring today. I don't know who you need to ask for forgiveness because you haven't been honoring them. I don't know if it's your spouse. I don't know if it's your kids. I got pretty convicted on this of just honoring, and I thought sometimes you just need to slow down. Sometimes to honor people here and God, you literally need to slow down and remove yourself from society for a little while. The best time you'll have with God is when you just remove yourself from things of this world. Some of the best time you have with your kids is when you don't worry about work. You don't worry about that you need tires on your truck. You don't worry about that money's low. You just think, I'm going to hang with them. I'm going to give them one that I can. I'm going to honor them with my time. Same thing with your spouse. So I'm asking you that. I don't know what God's dealing with you at. I'm going to ask you right now to stand up as we sing this last song and ask God directly. God, what are you trying to tell me? God, is there anybody that I need to honor? God, what do I need to do to improve my relationship with you? I know it's not about rules, but God, can you give me a tip? You may have to search for it. Just ask God, say, God, what are you saying to me today? God, what do you want from me today? So we're going to worship in this last song. And as always, the altar's open. Feel free to pray. Feel free to hang out. Afterwards, we can pray. And don't forget, we'll have connection groups.
Surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone.
100 people. We're going to close out in prayer, and remember we're going to have about a 5-minute break. The next group is going to start. We'd love to have you hang out and pray, and we can be dismissed. God, I thank you for today. God, I pray that your word will continue to penetrate our hearts, God, that you would give us the desire and the power to do things that please you, God. On our own, we're certainly fail. On our own, God, we're selfish, and we don't want to honor anyone. So God, will you help us walk this life out because God, you created us. God, you got a plan for us. And God, that should set us on fire. God, you know us personally. And you got a plan for us. But God, we're asking you to help. As our daddy, we're asking you to help us because we know we need your help. So be with us as individuals, be with us as a church, be with us as a community, and as a nation. We love you, we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.